Welcome to 3D tutorials, ArchiCAD. This is the first in a series called 9-minute how-to ArchiCAD tutorials. And in these 9 minutes, I will be looking at some interesting and useful features and how to use them to make the model making process more efficient. And the first thing I'll be looking at is the complex profile. There are a number of default profiles in ArchiCAD, but I like to build my own. So let's get started. In ArchiCAD, I have drawn a number of square shapes, each with a fill that I'll use to make the complex profile, and I've also placed 2 guidelines for reference. Now the profile I'm going to make is a typical wall, floor, footing, junction detail, and to do this I'll use the trace tool to guide me. I'll click on trace, then on the arrow, and choose reference, then browse for the trace reference that I want. In this box, I'll scroll down to worksheets where I've placed some line detail drawings, and I'll choose the wall floor junction trace reference. Now, if I pick up the parameters of a fill, the fill tool will be selected automatically, and I can now draw the shapes of the detail, which I have to do for a complex profile to work. Next, I'll pick up the parameters of the concrete block fill by pressing Alt+C, then zoom into the bottom of the external skin and draw a rectangular shape upwards to meet the underside of the brick skin. Then, with the same fill, I'll draw a rectangular shape from the inner skin upwards to meet the underside of the concrete slab. Then I'll pan down and draw another shape above the slab to the floor level, and I'll zoom in as necessary. Now I'll zoom out and pick the wall fill, then zoom in and carefully draw the fill rectangle upwards and finish at the mortar joint, which will be the floor level. At this point, I'll switch the trace button off to see what I still have to do. Now, as you can see, I've drawn all the lines I need with the polyline tool. These are all closed polylines with no fills. Now, you might prefer to draw the entire detail in this way, but you still have to fill the empty shapes for the complex profile to work. So what you do now is hover above the fill you need and press Alt+C, then click in the closed polyline shape. Then press the spacebar and click. Next, I'll pick up the parameters of the dense concrete fill and place it in the rectangle using the spacebar. As you probably know, Alt+C is the shortcut for the pickup parameter tool, and using the spacebar as a magic wand will save a lot of time. I'll use this method to place the remainder of the fills. And if you need to change the density of a fill texture, such as this insulation strip, then in the fill settings, click on the third button under Construction Method and press OK. And you'll see 2 lines that allow you to alter the size and angle of the texture. So I'll reduce the distance of the horizontal line and pan down until I can see the top node, and drag it down and type in the same distance as that of the horizontal line. And the substructure drawn with the fill tool can now be made into a complex profile. First, I will copy all the shapes. Then I'll open Options, Element Attributes, then Profile Manager. And in the Profile Manager settings, click on the plus sign, which will open the new profile box, then click on New, and I'll name it Substructure Tutorial, then press OK. The Profile Manager will then open a new profile, which is a fill box shape with a height and a width, and it will expand to show some settings. I'll zoom out because I'm going to paste the substructure detail next to the shape, and then I'll drag the detail across so that the bottom of the external blockwork sits exactly on the hotspot. Now I can delete the default fill shape, and you'll notice that the width has changed. I'll just neaten up the profile, then look at some of the settings. I will leave most of the default settings as they are, but I will change the modifiers by switching the stretch button on. These are offset controls you can add to the profile, which may be useful if you need to adjust the element. I will also look at the component panel, where you might want to change some of the component parameters, such as defining the component type or overriding the surface. I won't override the concrete block surface, but I'll select the brick fill, which is a masonry generic brick, and I'll change it by clicking Override Surfaces, then clicking on the generic brick surface and selecting Brick Red from the available surfaces. And once you're happy with the profile, you have to save it, and it's ready for use. Now back to my ArchiCAD model, and I've added a 2D drawing of the ground floor wall and the first floor wall, a polyline and also a mesh element, and a slab. I'll zoom into the drawing and switch on the trace button. You can see the detail level. You can add more or less. Now I'll open the substructure plan, then with the wall tool selected, make sure the structure is set to complex profile with substructure tutorial selected. Then use the magic wand and select the profile. And the 3D view shows the substructure wall. Now I'll open the ground floor plan, and as I've already made complex profiles of the ground floor and first floor walls, I'll use the magic wand and the polyline to place complex profiles. And in 3D, the wall is sitting on the substructure comfortably, but I notice a small problem at the corner. So I'll select the wall and open its settings. And in the model panel, I'll switch on the button named End Surfaces Override and click OK. And the corner has been cleaned up. Next, I'll open the first floor plan, and in Settings, change the complex profile from ground floor to first floor tutorial. Then, as before, hold down the spacebar and click on the polyline, and the profile is placed. And in 3D, the wall is now drawn from foundation to ceiling. Now back in plan view, I'll add the mesh as a terrain and the floor slab. Now my 9 minutes are almost up, and this brings us to the end of Module 1, the Complex Profile tutorial. Thank you for watching. Please press the like button or subscribe or watch my other tutorials.